get this channel to 80 subscribers.
Okay. Welcome back, YouTube. David here. Got a new video for y'all today. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification. So for today's video, we're gonna learn how to build up all of this right here. How to build up that ass, the glutes, the dumpy, dump truck, whatever it is that you want to call it. We're gonna teach you all how to build it up. Most girls, they do the right exercises, but maybe the amount of weight, the amount of repetition, how hard they're pushing themselves is not really up to par. So today, we're gonna be going over 3 of my personal favorite exercises and 3 of the exercises that have worked very, very well for Ale to build her up. So let's get on with the first one.
Yes.
Well, before we get into it, I want to explain a little bit of science behind the glutes. So let's start off with what exactly the glutes do, a little bit of anatomy. The glutes have 3 heads, so 3 different parts of it. Got the glute max, which is the biggest part that most people built up, the glute medius, which is the side, and then the glute minimus, which is just, you know, doesn't really get as much of attention. The glute max is what helps for hip extension. What does hip extension mean? It means allowing us to go from our hips being bent like this to standing upright, or from keeping our leg in this position to kicking it out a little bit more directly behind us. The glute medius, the side, is what allows our leg to be kicked out to the side like this. So typically those are the 2 motions that most people will do when it comes to building up their glutes. It's going the back and then some side kicks. But if you really want to build up the glutes, what you want is exercises where you're starting off in the hip flexion. So right here, you see my hip is bent, and you have to push weight to force yourself back into extension. So one of the very best exercises you can do, simple squats. So as you can see, I got Ale here squatting. She's going to be doing 10 reps. When it comes to squats, and mainly if you're a female lifter, don't think about the misconception that you shouldn't be lifting heavy weights. No, it will not make you incredibly bulky. No, it won't make you excessively muscular. Your glutes are your strongest muscle in your body. You need to push heavy weight. You need to fight the strain, that burning feeling, that feeling of discomfort. You gotta push through it. So as you can see, Ale was really straining when it came to those squats. One of the biggest things you need to take into consideration when training your glutes is, like I said, it's the biggest and strongest muscle in your body. So that means you gotta push even harder. The heavy weights, if you're just squatting using the bar or only throwing on 10s and 5s, doing 10 reps easily, that's not gonna get you the results that you want. You want to be able to push heavy weights, all right? So even when you feel the burning pain, push through it. Now, what type of squats should you be doing? Well, as you see, Ale was doing barbell back squats. Commonly, I see a lot of females at the gym, or a lot of my clients say they do the squats where they're holding the weight out in front of them like this. So if I were to be grabbing this dumbbell, they hold it right here, they go down, they go up and down when they're doing their squats. That's not a bad exercise. Yes, it does work your glutes. However, the difference between holding it here and having the weight on your back like this is gonna be the angle of your torso. So notice when I'm holding the weight up here, my torso is more upright, but if I were to have a weight on my back, you see that shift? Now my torso is a little bit more leaned forward. So when you lean a little bit more forward, again, we're gonna be going back to that hip angle. It's going to increase how much of that hip flexion you have. Going from right here to right here, you see, I'm bending at the hip more. The more you bend at the hip, the more range of motion it will have to go through, so that way it can be extended again. Therefore, the harder the glutes have to work. Doing squats, holding the weight out in front of you, it's called a goblet squat, by the way, will put more emphasis on your quads. It will still work the glutes, but it will put a greater emphasis on the quads. Regular back squats, you know, the bar on your back, will still work the quads, the glutes, along with other muscles, but it will put emphasis more on the glutes. The more you increase that angle in the hip, more glute work. Make sure you're going all the way down. No box squats, no partial reps. Make sure you push it. So that covers the squat. Next movement, we're going to be talking about any type of hinging motion. What does hinging mean? Same thing. Again, bending at the hip. That's going to be the main emphasis for today's video. Bending the hip. Make sure the glutes are really working. So common exercise girls do, or just anyone who's trying to grow their glutes do when it comes to the hinge, is going to be either an RDL or some type of deadlift variation. So for this specific video, we're going to be focusing mainly on RDLs. So two ways of doing them. Typical way, feet shoulder width apart, standing up nice and tall, shoulder blades pinch back. You're going to be pushing your hips back. Now notice as I push my hips back, there's going to be a certain point where my knees start to bend. That is great for glute development. A hinge will work your hamstrings a little bit too. It's multiple muscle groups. It's just the bigger priority is going to be the glutes. Now, if you choose to do it in a way where you're keeping a bigger emphasis on keeping your knees straight like this, like a stiff leg deadlift or a straight leg RDL, whatever you want to call it, that's going to put a bigger emphasis on the hamstrings, because now that your knees are a little bit more locked out, your hamstrings are going to be lengthened a little bit more, so they have to contract a little bit more. Again, I'm going to repeat it. Doing an RDL, pushing the hips back and allowing for that knee bend, like you can see right here. See, it goes shin and then it shoots back because the knees are a little bent. That's going to put a little bit more emphasis on the glutes. Doing it with a focus on keeping those knees straight will put a little bit more emphasis on the hamstrings. So you can see Ale is doing the RDLs the way to emphasize the glutes. She's adding a little bit more of a knee bend, so that way it puts a greater emphasis on the glutes. Again, pushing heavy weights. The muscles in your lower body, specifically the glutes, very strong. You got to push it. Fight through the burning pain. Really force that muscle to work. So you just saw, that was it for the RDLs. I also want to point out there, as an honorary mention, regular deadlifts, also great exercise to develop the glutes. Why? Because when you're in that bottom position or the starting position of the deadlift, you're doing a lot of hip flexion, so the glutes have to work to help extend the hips to get you to a standing position. Just want to throw that out there. Next exercise we're going to be focusing on is going to be hip thrust. So why exactly is the hip thrust one of the best exercises when it comes to developing your glutes? Well, it's because it minimizes a lot of limiting factors. What do I mean by that? When you're doing your regular squats, what's something that limits you from going more? One thing could be your upper back just giving out. Maybe your shoulder mobility is not up to par. You can't hold the bar on your back. If you're doing regular squats, holding the weight up here, maybe your arms are giving out from putting the weight or keeping the weight up here. When it comes to RDLs, maybe the thing that's keeping you from doing more reps is your upper back strength. Your shoulders are starting to round, your back is starting to round overall, or maybe your grip strength can no longer hold the bar. When it comes to hip thrust, you don't have to worry about much of that. Your back is already supported by whatever bench machine that you're on, bench or machine that you're on, and then your legs aren't moving anywhere. So literally, you're just using your glutes. And the great thing about this exercise is you can load it up real heavy, going straight up and going straight down. Whether it be with a machine or a bar, you know, sometimes you set up the bar and you put the pad under for a little bit of a cushion. You gotta go heavy. I work at a gym and I see a lot of people doing the hip thrust machine. They're loading up 10s and 5s. You can't be doing that. You got to push heavy weights. It's obvious that when they do the 10s and 5s that they could have gone heavier, they could have done more reps. Load up to 25s and 45s. Your glutes are so strong, they need heavy weights. So now Ali's doing her hip thrust, going through the full range of motion, all the way up, all the way down, really increasing that hip flexion. She's doing 5 regular, and then right now she's jumping into 3 pulses, and on the third one, hold for time. There we go. There you go, everyone. Those were the 3 exercises to build up your glutes. Obviously, there's a lot more you can do with cables, bands. These are just my personal favorites when it comes to actually building up the most amount of mass, the most amount of strength in that particular muscle group. Again, squats, any type of hinge, but we emphasize the RDLs today, and hip thrust. The main emphasis was really increasing that bending of the hip joint, that hip flexion, and then forcing more extension, more range of motion, getting from a bent position to standing upright. So real easy, get a good burn on the calves. I mean, not the calves.
On the booty.
That's right. So
hip thrust, squat, deadlift, do it.
You said hip thrust twice.
I know.
Okay.
Because it's important. Don't skip it.
Yeah. So if you want other suggestions on how to build the specific muscle groups, or if you want more videos on how to build up the glutes, please comment down below. Be more than happy to get that video out for y'all. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to not just my channel, but Ali's channel as well. And then we got the couples accounts together. And for Instagram, TikTok, same thing. Follow us on our individual accounts and the couples together. I put all the links down in the description for you.
Yes. Get this to 80 subscribers. Get this to, what do you want? How many likes?
A lot.
Get this to like, I don't know, 100 likes. Yeah. And comment down below.
She's my marketing agent, so, as you can tell. But yeah, with that being said, we'll catch y'all next time.
Bye.